Chosen one. Stop for a moment. This is not a coincidence. Heaven has interrupted your scroll, your thoughts, your timeline, because there is something you are not allowed to skip. The hand of God has pressed pause on your momentum, not to hinder you, but to protect you from moving too soon. You've been wondering why nothing is moving forward, why the doors you prayed for seem to shut, why the plans you built fell apart in your hands. Listen carefully. It's because you carry something sacred, and God refuses to let you waste it in a season that cannot sustain it. What feels like a delay is divine preservation. Heaven is not saying no. Heaven is saying not yet. There are moments when silence itself becomes God's language. You've been asking for answers, but He's been answering by stopping you. Every closed path, every unseen hand blocking your step, it's all part of His orchestration. You think you've been stuck. In truth, you've been stationed. You think life has been paused. In truth, heaven has been preparing the stage for your release. You are not being punished, you are being protected. The ones God loves deeply, e disciplines deliberately. And when the calling is heavy, the process must be holy. He will not let His chosen ones run ahead of His timing. He will stop the wind if He must. He will hold back opportunities. He will let certain people walk away. Because He knows, if you skip this, you won't survive what's coming next. The voice of God thundered in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you, in order to know what was in your heart. Chosen one. This is your wilderness. This is your humbling ground. The wilderness was never a punishment. It was the classroom of obedience. God is teaching you to trust without proof, to follow without clarity, and to stand still when everything in you wants to run. The wilderness strips away distractions until only purpose remains. You cannot rush what God is refining. If He lets you skip the process, you will lack the strength to hold the promise. Every chosen vessel must endure the fire before it can carry the flame. The process hurts, but it heals. The delay feels cruel, but it's mercy disguised. Because sometimes the greatest danger is not the enemy ahead, it's your own impatience within. Do you feel it? The divine restraint, the invisible hand holding you back from what seems right but isn't ready. That's God. He knows the weight of your destiny, and He refuses to let you step into it unprepared. You've been hidden, not forgotten, concealed, not cancelled. God hides His treasures until the time is right. You've been comparing your timeline to others, watching people sprint while you wait in silence. But heaven says, be still. Your pace is different because your purpose is different. Others may be moving quickly, but they are running small races. You are being trained for endurance. This path cannot be skipped because what's being built in you must last generations. It's easy to praise God when doors open, but the true test of faith is whether you can still praise Him when He closes them. Will you trust His timing even when it feels like punishment? Will you stay faithful when progress pauses? This is what separates the chosen from the called. The called move by sight. The chosen move by surrender. Do not despise the season where nothing seems to happen. It is the unseen labor that births eternal fruit. You are being prepared in silence for a sound that will shake nations. Every delay is pregnant with divine purpose. Every pause is filled with prophetic alignment. So, stand still and know, heaven has not forgotten you. The story is not stalled, it's being edited by the author himself. And when the time is right, the same God who halted you will propel you faster than you ever imagined, but not a second before you're ready. If this word resonates deep within your spirit, if you can feel heaven tugging at your heart right now, acknowledge it. Like this message, share it with another chosen one who feels trapped in divine stillness, and comment the number 777 below as a prophetic act of agreement that you will not skip what God is shaping within you. This interruption is holy. Embrace it, because what you gain in this stillness will sustain you when the world starts moving again. You have wondered why God held you in stillness when everything inside you was ready to move. You saw the signs, the openings, the possibilities, and just when you reached out, heaven withdrew its hand. You thought it was rejection, but it was protection. What you called delay was actually the mercy of God shielding you from stepping into a battlefield you were not yet armored for. Heaven knows what you cannot see. There were traps beneath what looked like blessings, people whose smiles hid sharp intentions, and opportunities that would have offered glory but stolen your peace. That is why the path shifted. The sacred delay was never random. It was God whispering, "Wait until I finish preparing you." Oh, every chosen one must experience this moment where progress pauses and purpose feels distant. This is the proving ground of patience. This is where your faith stops being theory and becomes breath. God does not test to destroy. He tests to reveal what has been secretly strengthened. The stillness you are in is the sound of construction beneath the surface. The ancient scrolls reveal in the letter of James, chapter 1, verse 4, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." You see, perseverance is not about waiting passively. It is the active decision to trust what God is doing in silence. The sacred delay is not simply time passing, it is transformation happening. Heaven is shaping your inner world to match the weight of your outer calling. If you move too soon, the blessing will crush you. So God slows your pace until your heart beats at His rhythm. He removes certain voices so that His whisper becomes enough. He delays your breakthrough so your faith will no longer depend on evidence. You are being refined in stillness because what's ahead demands a stronger foundation than excitement can build. This is why you've been uncomfortable. Your spirit knows movement is near. But heaven says, "Not yet." You are standing between promise and preparation. And the longer it takes, the deeper God is digging. You are not stuck, you are being secured. You might feel left behind, watching others run ahead while your feet remain planted. But comparison is the enemy of divine timing. What God is doing in you takes longer because it will last longer. The short race belongs to many, but endurance belongs to the chosen. The delay is not proof that you've been forgotten, it's proof that you've been trusted with something eternal. So, what should you do in this sacred delay? Yield. Let patience do her work. Let silence become your tutor. Let surrender teach you peace. For every moment you remain faithful in the unseen. Heaven records your trust. Every sigh, every tear, every prayer whispered without answer is a seed that will bloom in divine timing. And when the season shifts, and it will, you'll realize this waiting was not wasted. It was sacred. You'll stand on the other side of obedience and recognize that every slow step carried divine precision. You'll see that the doors God closed were never yours to walk through. They were walls guarding your destiny until you were ready. Chosen one. Breathe. You are not behind. You are in the middle of a holy delay that will launch you further than rushing ever could. What looks like pause is purpose. What feels like stillness is set up. In this quiet place, heaven is finishing what it started. Do not fight the silence. Let it shape you. For when patience has completed its work, you will rise, mature, unshaken, and prepared to carry what God has promised. The delay is not empty space, it's sacred ground. Heaven plants things in you here that cannot grow anywhere else. This stillness is the soil of revelation. You are learning to recognize God's voice in quiet moments, to discern His movement in what looks like nothing. Every second you remain faithful in this season adds weight to your future authority. Do not despise what feels slow. The things that last are never built in haste. Every masterpiece takes time. Every calling takes fire. And every chosen one must first learn to stand still before they are sent. The pause is where power gathers. The silence is where clarity is born. God is not delaying you, He is defining you. So rest in this truth. Heaven has not forgotten your name. The promise still stands. The process is simply preparing the vessel that will carry it. What comes next will require all that you've learned in this waiting. Hold steady. Your stillness is the evidence that movement is near. You are standing in the fire between what was and what will be. This is not chaos. This is calibration. Heaven has drawn you into a furnace designed specifically for your future. The heat you feel is not punishment, it's precision. Every chosen one must be refined before they can be revealed. And right now, God is purifying what pride built, strengthening what pain exposed, and anchoring what fear once shook. You prayed for purpose, and God answered with pressure, because purpose without purification leads to collapse. The very thing that hurts is the thing preparing you for harvest. You are not being broken apart, you are being broken open. In this season, you are learning that fire doesn't come to destroy the chosen, it comes to define them. The prophet recorded in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. This is what heaven is doing with you, sitting close, watching the temperature, never leaving you unattended. The refiner never walks away while the metal melts. He stays near until the reflection of his own face appears in the gold. That's why you can still feel His presence in your pain. He's not distant, He's deliberate. Do you feel the burn? That is God removing what you cannot carry forward: resentment, pride, fear, dependence on applause. He's cleansing the vessel because what He's about to pour into you cannot mix with the residue of the old season. Every chosen one must pass through this refining to carry fresh oil. And it's not just about endurance, it's about transformation. The person who entered this fire will not be the one who walks out. You will rise different. You will rise dangerous to darkness. You will rise drenched in clarity, carrying authority forged in flame. The pain has purpose. The fire is not your enemy, it's your graduation. Heaven is watching how you respond, not to see you fail, but to reveal your faith. The more you resist, the longer the process, the more you surrender, the faster the fire completes its work. You will remember this moment, the heat, the tears, the silent nights, and one day you will thank God for them, because the same flames that scared you will become the light that guides others. What feels like loss now will soon look like liberation. And when the refining ends, you will see yourself clearly for the first time. No longer heavy, no longer hidden, no longer haunted by the old version of you. You'll carry the fragrance of obedience, the shine of resilience, and the strength that only the fire can give. Now, if your spirit recognizes this season, if you know you're in the heat of heaven's forge, make your declaration in the comments. Type, "through the fire." Now, write it not as a reaction, but as a vow. Say it because you choose to endure until the work is finished. Let the heavens and hell alike see your statement, that you will not run from refinement, because you know what's waiting on the other side of this flame. The fire is not against you, it is for you. And when it's done, even your scars will shine. Each flame that surrounds you now is forming something eternal within you. What feels like loss is actually birthing legacy. The fire is not your enemy, it is your ally, teaching you what comfort never could, giving you courage that cannot be taught by ease. The moments that burn the most are the ones that build you the deepest. Fire reveals foundation. It shows you what was real all along. Every chosen one must meet the flame. For only in heat do you discover the strength of what heaven placed inside you. There will come a day when you look back and realize the furnace was your promotion. It was there you learned to pray with power, to see through deception, to love without fear. Fire doesn't just refine, it resurrects everything that once seemed dead. So lift your head, chosen one. The fire will end. And when it does, you will stand unrecognizable to the version of you that entered it. Every scar will tell a story of survival. Every ember, a reminder of grace that never left you. Comment, "through the fire." Say it with understanding, not emotion. Declare it as your covenant with heaven that you will not quit. You will not run. You will not bend under pressure. Let those words mark your stand in the furnace. Unbroken and purified for glory. You have walked through the fire, and now you find yourself in the silence that follows. The heat has faded, but the world still feels unfamiliar. This is the in-between, the stillness after refining, the space between burning and blooming. It is quieter here, but do not mistake quiet for emptiness. What you are feeling now is peace, learning to live inside you. When God finishes purging what no longer belongs, He leads His chosen ones into a holy calm. It's the moment when your soul, after endless wrestling, finally exhales. You used to run on urgency, driven by the need to fix, to prove, to arrive. But the fire stripped that away, revealing something stronger than ambition, trust. This is where you begin to understand that rest is not the absence of motion, it is the presence of assurance. The voice of wisdom speaks through the Psalms. Chapter 62, verse 5. Yes, my soul, find rest in God. My hope comes from Him. Then, you've learned how to fight. Now you are learning how to be still. There is divine strength in quiet trust. The world celebrates noise and speed, but heaven values stability. When everything around you demands action, God whispers, "Stay," because stillness is not stagnation, it's synchronization with His timing. This is the season where He reteaches you rhythm. Your steps no longer follow the chaos of circumstance, but the cadence of His breath. You start to realize that being chosen doesn't mean being constantly in motion. It means being available when He moves. There is power in restraint, holiness in waiting, and faith in silence. The fire made you strong, but this stillness will make you wise. In the quiet, God reveals what the noise could not: the difference between striving and surrender, between reacting and responding, between surviving and resting. You are learning to let His will flow without resistance. You no longer need to push, you simply align. In this place, peace feels strange at first. After so many battles, your spirit is suspicious of calm. But peace is not weakness. It's proof that the storm inside you has finally bowed to the presence of God. You no longer need to prove your worth. You already carry it. You no longer chase what's yours. You attract it by resting in divine order. God will begin to rebuild you here, piece by piece, thought by thought. He will restore your confidence, not in outcomes, but in His faithfulness. You'll find yourself moving slower but surer, speaking less but with more weight, doing fewer things but producing greater impact. This is the evidence that the wilderness worked. And yes, there will still be moments of restlessness, times when silence feels like distance. But remember, stillness is not abandonment. Even in His quiet, God is close. The same voice that thundered in the fire now whispers in the breeze. He is teaching you to hear the subtler tones of His presence. When you stop fighting for control, peace becomes natural. You will feel heaven's rhythm again, the pulse of purpose beneath every pause. The very delay that once frustrated you will now feel like safety. The same silence that once frightened you will now feel like companionship. Your new strength is gentle, but it's unbreakable. The world will look at your calm and mistake it for complacency. But heaven knows it is confidence. You are anchored now, not by outcomes, but by understanding. You know who holds the plan, and you trust His process. The wilderness has ended, but its wisdom remains. You no longer ask, when? Because you've learned that timing is part of trust. You no longer fear silence because you've realized it's filled with God's breath. And when He speaks again, you'll move not from panic, but from peace. So, stay here for a moment longer. Let your soul breathe. You've fought well. You've endured the fire. And now you must learn the rhythm of resting in divine hands. The fire purified you, but rest will crown you. In this stillness, heaven watches you heal. The scars from the furnace shine quietly, not as reminders of pain, but as proof of endurance. You are no longer striving to become, you simply are. And in this sacred simplicity, your purpose begins to flow again, effortlessly, like a river that no longer resists its course. In this calm, heaven breathes over your timeline again. Every step ahead is wrapped in quiet confidence. You've entered the rhythm of divine rest, where waiting no longer wounds, it worships. Peace is now your power. You no longer chase moments. You carry eternity within you. The silence that once scared you has become the sound of your strength. There is a cost to carrying glory. Every chosen one must learn this truth. The higher the calling, the deeper the surrender. You have walked through silence and fire, through delays and divine pauses, and now you begin to understand that destiny demands devotion. Nothing in God's kingdom is wasted, and nothing in His kingdom is cheap. Every moment of obedience you've given has been like pouring oil onto an unseen altar. Every tear, every prayer, Every quiet act of faith, none of it has gone unnoticed. Heaven keeps records. Even when the world does not, as the apostle once wrote to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58, "Your labor in the Lord is not in vain." Oh, you are the kind of soul heaven treasures. Because you do not serve for applause, you serve for purpose. You keep moving, even when no one sees you. And that is what makes you dangerous to darkness. You've learned to give even when you feel empty. To pour even when you've barely been filled. But hear this, even givers need refilling. You cannot keep pouring without being replenished. This is where partnership becomes sacred. Every movement of light, every voice carrying divine truth, every platform that reaches hearts across the world, it all requires vessels who believe enough to sustain it. Think of it like this: when a single candle lights another, neither loses its flame. Both shine brighter together. When you give, whether by prayer, by time, or by seed, you are adding oil to the lamp that lights the path for others still walking in darkness. This space, these messages, this flow of truth, it's not a performance, it's a mission. Every word spoken here reaches someone who was ready to give up. Every clip, every message, every reminder that you are chosen becomes a spark that reignites hope in another heart. And if that has ever touched you, then you are already part of it. If this voice, this message, this light has strengthened you, I invite you gently and sincerely to help keep it alive. Tap to like this message so the current of hope keeps flowing to those searching for it. Share it and let it travel like a lantern across the night to someone who has forgotten their worth. Subscribe so you remain connected to the stream that keeps your faith hydrated. And if your heart feels stirred to go a step further, to sow into this work, then do it as a free act of faith, not as a transaction, not as obligation. Your donation is a seed dropped into living soil, a drop of oil poured into the lamp that refuses to go out. You're not buying blessings, you're building bridges for others to reach them too. Let your giving be like the rain, gentle, natural, freely flowing from gratitude. Because when you support something born of heaven, you become part of its story. Your fingerprints rest on every soul that hears and heals through it. And if you have nothing to give today, hear this: your presence still matters. Your prayer is power. Your listening heart keeps this mission alive. Giving is never measured by the size of the offering, but by the sincerity of the heart. God sees every quiet yes. He sees when you share a word of hope, when you take time to comment encouragement, when you whisper a prayer for this message to reach the right soul. That too is generosity. That too is worship. So whatever you do, whether you click like, release light through a share, stay connected through subscription, or pour a little oil through donation, do it from love, not pressure. Because what is done in love is multiplied by heaven. Remember, oil only runs where there are willing vessels. And maybe, just maybe, you were brought here not only to receive the message, but to help carry it further. Let every act, every offering, every click, every prayer be a whisper that says, "Lord, let your light continue through me." And that is what partnership looks like in the kingdom: freely given, joyfully shared, eternally multiplied. When you give light, it always returns. The flame you protect today will guide someone else tomorrow. And when they rise, Their glow will reflect back on you, a quiet cycle of divine generosity. Every act of kindness becomes a seed. Heaven remembers. The smallest gesture, the softest word, the simplest offering, all ripple outward, touching hearts you will never meet, yet eternally bless. This is how chosen ones build eternity, not with grand monuments, but with invisible threads of love woven through obedience. Your faith fuels the flame, and the flame never forgets its source. You have endured the fire, embraced the stillness, and learned the rhythm of rest. But now, something stirs again. A shift in the unseen, a quiet wind beginning to move around you. It's not the chaos of the past, it's the sound of alignment. Heaven is preparing to reopen what it once closed. Yet this time, you will not walk through doors by desire, but by direction. You are stepping into the unskippable process, the stage that no chosen one can avoid. This is where obedience meets opportunity. It's not about how fast you move, but how accurately you follow. God is calling you to walk, not run, to move with precision. Not panits. There are things He cannot entrust to a hurried heart. Destiny unfolds one obedient step at a time, and every step is sacred. This is why you had to slow down earlier to learn how to move with heaven's rhythm. The same God who paused you before is now guiding your release. Heaven reminds us through the words found in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. And the promise is not denied. It's simply waiting for your maturity to match its magnitude. God will never give you something that your character cannot protect. So when movement returns, remember, obedience is the key that opens doors, not ambition. You are in a divine transition now. The ground beneath you feels uncertain because God is shifting you from dependence on patterns to dependence on presence. You can no longer live by routine. You must live by revelation. This season requires your full attention, your full trust, your full surrender. Every chosen one reaches this point, the crossroad of obedience. The Spirit whispers, "Now move." Yet fear whispers back, "What if I'm not ready?" But readiness is not about feeling prepared. It's about trusting the one who calls. You are ready because He says you are. There will be signs, small ones. A conversation that confirms your direction. A sudden peace that settles over your uncertainty. A sense that what once drained you now propels you. These are not coincidences, they are coordinates. Heaven is mapping your path, but you must resist the urge to skip steps. The process is not punishment, it's protection. Each stage teaches a language you'll need for the next. Skipping now would only create confusion later. Let God build you in layers, not leaps. Let obedience be your pace. And while you move, stay anchored. The distractions will return voices, tempting shortcuts. Opportunities that look like blessings but carry compromise. Remember what you've learned. Not everything good is God. You are being trained to discern the difference between the door of destiny and the trap of convenience. God will test your consistency in this phase. Can you keep your faith steady even when movement feels slow again? Can you stay grateful while He aligns details unseen? Because this is not about proving yourself, it's about proving your trust. Chosen one. Your faith is graduating. You are stepping into a level where you no longer need constant confirmation. You move because His voice has already settled your heart. You walk not by sight, but by sacred knowing. The wilderness was the classroom, but obedience is the test. And when you pass it, heaven will release what has been waiting for you all along. The delay ends when alignment begins. Now, let your spirit respond. Comment the number 555 below, not as superstition, but as a prophetic sign of alignment and grace. In divine language, this number represents transition, divine order, and the flow of new beginnings under God's mercy. When you write 555, you're declaring that grace now governs your movement, that every step you take will follow heaven's rhythm, not human pressure. You're saying, Lord, I trust your process. I surrender my timing for yours. End quote. Let those 3 5s become 3 waves of grace washing over your path. One for the past that has been purified, one for the present that is being aligned, and one for the future that is unfolding in divine timing. It's not about numbers, it's about meaning. This act is a whisper from your spirit to heaven, saying, I am ready to walk with you, not ahead of you. And from this moment forward, may grace mark your steps. May every path be paved with divine timing. May every delay turn into direction, and every stillness bloom into strength. You are not behind. You are becoming. The process you could not skip has now become your power. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the battle turns inward. The storms outside begin to quiet, but a different kind of noise rises from within. It is the war between your flesh and your spirit, between what you feel and what you know, between what is easy and what is eternal. This is the war within the most sacred and the most silent battlefield of all. You may no longer face the chaos of old enemies, but now you face the reflections of your own heart. Doubt whispers in one ear, destiny calls from the other. You stand in the tension of both voices, and it feels like your soul is being stretched between surrender and resistance. This is where the true refining happens, not in the fire of circumstances, but in the fire of conviction. You have learned to endure pain, but can you now endure peace without losing focus? You have learned to fight giants, but can you now confront yourself without retreating? The war within is the proving ground of maturity. Scripture whispers through the passage of Romans, chapter 7, verse 22, For in my inner being I delight in God's law, but I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind. No, that is what you are feeling, the clash of laws within your spirit. One part of you longs for purity, while another part resists discipline. One part of you wants to rise, while another longs for rest. Yet this battle is not a sign of failure. It is the proof that your spirit is still alive. The dead do not wrestle. Only the living fight to stay aligned. In this war, the greatest weapon is awareness. The enemy doesn't always attack with weapons you can see. Sometimes he uses weariness, comparison, or compromise. He doesn't destroy you overnight. He dulls you slowly. That's why heaven is calling you to sharpen your discernment. You must recognize the difference between comfort that heals and comfort that hides you from growth. Every time you choose obedience over emotion, your spirit wins. Every time you choose forgiveness over revenge, heaven advances. Every time you choose silence when you could have justified yourself, you claim victory in unseen realms. The war within isn't about conquering the world. It's about mastering your responses to it. You will notice that certain things no longer satisfy you. The conversations that once distracted you will now drain you. The habits that once comforted you will now convict you. This is the Spirit pulling you higher, whispering that you were not made for temporary pleasures, but for eternal purpose. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Growth always feels like loss at first. When heaven elevates you, it doesn't always add, it often subtracts. God removes what cannot breathe in higher atmospheres. That includes attitudes, patterns, and even relationships that were built for your old level. This pruning doesn't mean you're losing, it means you're being prepared to flourish. The war within teaches you the language of restraint. It teaches you how to pause before reacting, how to wait before deciding, how to listen before speaking. These are not small victories, they are eternal ones. The strongest warriors are not those who defeat others, but those who conquer themselves. Remember this: God does not condemn you for the struggle. He walks with you through it. He knows that transformation takes time. Every inner battle you fight with faith becomes a seed of wisdom for the future. There will come a day when you'll look back and realize that the war within was not meant to break you. It was meant to bond you to God. So, do not despise this season of self-confrontation. Let the Spirit illuminate the corners you once avoided. Let conviction cleanse you instead of shame condemning you. You are being shaped into someone whose peace cannot be stolen, whose faith cannot be shaken, and whose mind cannot be manipulated. Soon, the noise inside will fade. What will remain is clarity, the quiet knowing that the God who reigns over the universe also reigns within you. You will emerge from this war not empty, but whole, not hardened, but healed. The voice of fear will lose its authority, and the whisper of grace will become your constant companion. This is the hidden victory of the chosen, to master the unseen, to stand strong in the silence, and to carry peace where conflict once lived. That is how heaven knows you are ready for what comes next, not when the world applauds you, but when your soul finally rests in obedience. There is a season in every chosen one's journey when God hides you. It is not rejection, it is refinement. You may feel invisible, forgotten, or overlooked, but heaven has simply covered you for a time. The hidden place is not a prison, it is a sanctuary. It is where God trains his warriors before he sends them into battle, where he teaches his voices before he allows them to speak. You may wonder why no one sees your effort, why the doors you knock on remain closed, why the work of your hands goes unnoticed. But this concealment is holy. God hides his greatest treasures until they are ready to be revealed. He hid Moses in a basket before he could lead a nation. He hid David among the sheep before he faced a giant. He hid Esther in a palace before she saved her people. He hides because he is protecting what is precious. The prophet declared long ago in the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 2, "He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." That is where you are, inside the quiver. Not discarded, but prepared. Not forgotten, but focused. God is sharpening you in silence. Every hidden season is heaven's workshop, where God refines your edges and strengthens your aim. When the moment comes to release you, you will not miss the mark. The hidden place strips you of the need for validation. It teaches you to serve without applause, to grow without being seen, to obey without being understood. It exposes whether your faith is rooted in recognition or relationship, in this place, you stop chasing visibility and start pursuing depth. You learn that being known by heaven matters more than being noticed by people. Many cannot survive the hidden season because it feels like nothing is happening. But that is only because the growth is inward. Roots always grow before fruit appears. The tree that looks motionless above the ground is expanding beneath it. God is doing the same with you, establishing unseen stability so that when you rise, you will not be shaken. You are being trained to move with precision, not performance, to speak with conviction, not noise, to act with purpose, not pressure. Hiddenness purifies your motives until your yes to God is not for reward but for relationship. And it is here, in this secret classroom, that God begins to reveal things no one else sees. He teaches you to discern whispers, to recognize peace as confirmation, to distinguish between divine doors and distractions. You learn the power of waiting for His signal instead of forcing your own timing. The hidden place also heals what the spotlight could have damaged. It gives you space to recover from disappointment, to rebuild your confidence in silence, to restore your joy away from the eyes of the crowd. It allows you to be human before you are heroic. God knows that visibility without wholeness is dangerous, so He hides you to protect you from premature exposure. In the stillness of hiddenness, you begin to value anonymity as a gift. There is freedom in being unseen because you are no longer performing, you are becoming. God is shaping the unseen qualities that fame cannot teach. Humility, patience, and faithfulness. These are the ingredients of endurance, and only the hidden season can cook them into your character. There will be moments when loneliness whispers that you've been forgotten, but heaven is closer than ever in these moments. The silence you feel is not absence, it is intimacy. The same God who hid you also watches over you. He is the keeper of your process, the guardian of your timing. When the time is right, the hiding will end. The arrow will leave the quiver, and when it does, you will see that every second of silence was sacred preparation. The things that once felt like delays will reveal themselves as design. You will hit your target, not because you were visible, but because you were ready. So, stay steady in the secret. Let the hidden place complete its work. The applause will come later. But for now, heaven is your only audience. And that is enough. For the ones God hides are the ones He intends to unveil in glory. Hidden seasons are sacred investments. What feels like silence now is God engraving strength into your soul. When He finally unveils you, you won't just appear, you'll arrive carrying wisdom shaped in the shadows. Rest in your concealment. Heaven is sculpting legacy in secrecy. When the unveiling comes, it will not be a performance, but a revelation. You'll shine not because you were seen, but because you were prepared. The closer you move toward destiny, the louder the distractions become. Not all battles come with swords, some come with whispers. In this season, the war is for your focus. Heaven has brought you through the fire and the silence, but now it tests your attention. The enemy cannot destroy what God has sealed, so he tries to divert your gaze. Distraction never arrives as destruction. It disguises itself as opportunity. It will look good, feel right, sound urgent. It will ask for your time, your peace, your energy, and call it purpose. But not everything that shines carries light. Some brilliance blinds. You must learn to discern the difference between divine timing and clever imitation, according to what is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 25. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. That verse is not only instruction, it's survival. God knows how fragile focus can be when you're on the edge of breakthrough. This is the stage where many chosen ones drift. They get pulled by noise, drained by comparison, and distracted by what others are building. But your path is different. Your focus is sacred. Distraction will come in many forms: sudden busyness, emotional exhaustion, constant scrolling, people pulling you into conversations that have no fruit. These are not coincidences, they are strategies. Darkness knows it cannot stop you from reaching your purpose, so it tries to keep you circling near it, never landing, never arriving. You must guard your gaze. Every moment of attention is a seed, and whatever you water will grow. Feed fear, and it multiplies. Feed faith, and it flourishes. Protect your focus the way a soldier protects his weapon. It's not about being rigid, it's about being responsible with your calling. There will be moments when you feel like you're missing out, when others seem ahead, and you feel left behind. But remember, heaven's timeline is not measured in popularity or pace. It's measured in obedience. What you think is delay is actually protection from premature exposure. If the enemy cannot destroy your purpose, he will attempt to distract you from it. He will try to fill your days with noise so that your spirit forgets how to listen. But you were never built to chase. You were built to carry presence. God needs your attention because what He is whispering now will guide your next season. Stay watchful. There will be people who appear helpful but carry hidden motives. There will be paths that look promising but lead to confusion. Ask the Spirit for discernment before you act. Not everything good is from God, and not everything hard is from the enemy. Some obstacles are divine filters. This is where your maturity is tested, not in motion, but in stillness. When distractions rise, you'll have to choose what deserves your energy. You'll learn that peace is your compass. Anything that steals it is not from Him. You are being trained to live with laser vision. Heaven is aligning your eyes with your purpose so you can see what others overlook. That's why some things that once fascinated you now feel empty. They've lost their hold because you've outgrown them. The closer you move to destiny, the quieter you must become. The world will try to pull you in 10 directions, but God is calling you to move in one, His. Let your yes stay clear, your heart stay clean, your focus stay firm. Now, take a breath and ground yourself. The distractions may roar, but your peace will silence them. You were not chosen to chase noise, you were chosen to echo truth. If your spirit understands this moment, if you sense heaven pulling your focus back into alignment, make it known. Comment, eyes forward. Write it not for visibility, but as agreement. When you type it, let it be your vow to guard your gaze, to protect your peace, to keep your eyes on the one who called you. Let that short phrase become a shield, a reminder that your focus is sacred, and your purpose cannot afford to look back. Distraction may knock, but destiny await. Keep your eyes forward. When you write eyes forward, you are doing more than typing words. You are speaking alignment into your life. You are declaring that your gaze will no longer drift toward fear, regret, or distraction. but remain locked on purpose. Every letter becomes a spiritual step. Each word, a turning of your focus back to heaven's direction. It is your way of saying, I refuse to look back at what God already healed. I will only move where He leads. No, eyes forward is a covenant between your vision and your destiny. It means you choose progress over nostalgia, obedience over comfort, and trust over control. Keep your eyes forward. The future God prepared still waits for you. You have walked through fire and silence. You have faced battles within and seasons of being unseen. Now you stand at a threshold where heaven begins to breathe over everything again. The light that once flickered in darkness is glowing stronger, steadier, and it is calling you to carry it forward, not alone, but together. This message you hear, this river of truth that keeps finding you, it isn't just words. It's a flow that has crossed storms, climbed mountains, and passed through willing hearts before reaching yours. Each word you receive was once a prayer whispered in faith, sustained by others who believed in keeping this flame alive. As the Spirit reveals in the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 13, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. You are part of that purpose. Every time you pause here, something within you is strengthened. Every message that reaches your screen carries traces of unseen hands, unseen hearts, unseen sacrifices. The voice you hear is only the echo of something bigger, a movement of light stretching across lives and nations. If this stream of words has ever lifted your spirit, if it has reminded you that you are chosen and not forgotten, then you are already woven into its story. You are not an audience, you are a participant in what heaven is doing. Think of this message like a vineyard. The fruit is meant for many, but it grows because someone tends the soil. Each like you offer is a drop of water that keeps the roots alive. Each share is a wind that carries seeds to new ground. Each subscription is a hand choosing to stay in the garden, to see how the next blossom unfolds. And if your heart ever whispers to give, to solve, to support, then let that giving be as natural as the sun rising over the field. Your donation is not a demand, it's a seed cast into the soil of transformation. It's how you quietly say, let this continue. Let this light reach another soul. Oh, when you give, think of it as lighting another lamp. No candle loses its flame by lighting another, it only multiplies the glow. Your offering, whether small or great, adds oil to the lamp that keeps this voice burning through the night, reaching those who cannot yet see their way. You are not funding words, you are fueling hope. You are helping messages of faith flow into places algorithms cannot calculate, into lonely hearts, sleepless rooms, weary souls who think heaven has gone quiet. Your act of generosity becomes the bridge that carries light into their darkness. And if this season finds you without material means to give, your prayer is enough. Your listening, your presence, your willingness to stay are offerings in themselves. Each act of attention, each moment of reflection, each silent amen joins the river of grace that sustains this work. The truth is, this mission doesn't belong to one person, it belongs to all of us. It's a lighthouse built not by one set of hands, but by many. Each brick laid through faith and love. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, you're helping to build that lighthouse higher so more lost ships can see the shore. And when you give, you become part of the oil that keeps its flame from fading. There is no pressure here, only invitation. The beauty of giving lies in freedom. No one forces the river to flow. It moves because it was created to move. So, if your heart stirs, let it flow. Everything you do here, every touch, every act, every word, becomes part of something eternal. You never know who you're helping heal. You never know whose night is brightened because you chose to respond. Let your generosity, whether in sharing, subscribing, praying, or sowing, be your way of saying, I choose to keep the light burning. Do it not because you have to, but because something inside you knows that what carries heaven's fragrance deserves to keep breathing. And as you give, may peace return to you multiplied. May your acts of faith ripple through time, touching hearts you will never meet, but will one day recognize in eternity. The light that leaves your hand will never leave your life. It circles back, brighter, softer, holier. For light that is shared never dies, it expands. Hope that is tended never fades, it blossoms. Love that is given never empties, it overflows. This is the beauty of being chosen. You are both the flame and the one who keeps it alive. There is a quiet mystery in how God transforms pain into power. You rarely notice it while it's happening. In the beginning, the breaking feels brutal, everything stable, suddenly fractures. And the questions come rushing in like a storm. Why did this happen? What was I supposed to learn from loss? But slowly, somewhere beneath the ache, a strange strength begins to form. The wounds that once bled now begin to breathe. They stop being reminders of suffering and start becoming sources of compassion. Every scar you carry tells a story heaven intends to use. This is what happens in the divine exchange. Your brokenness becomes the altar, and God trades ashes for authority. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 11, You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. And this is the rhythm of restoration. God does not erase your past, He repurposes it. What was meant to crush you becomes the very platform from which you rise. What you thought would end you becomes the testimony that empowers others. In His hands, even pain has purpose. The breaking always comes before the blessing. Before wine flows, the grapes must be pressed. Before the fragrance fills the room, the oil must be crushed from the olive. Before light breaks through, the night must reach its darkest. You, too, are being pressed, but it is pressure with purpose. The weight you feel is not punishment. It's the hand of the potter shaping you into something usable. At first, it feels like loss. You think you've been stripped of everything you need. But what's really happening is subtraction for multiplication. God removes so He can replace. He empties so He can fill. The exchange only happens when you stop fighting the process and let surrender do its work. Somewhere in the breaking, you begin to realize that God never abandoned you. He was closest in the crushing. Every tear that fell was counted. Every silent prayer recorded. Nothing you endured has been wasted. Heaven recycles everything. Even your mistakes become materials for your making. It's easy to praise God when He restores. But can you trust Him when He removes? This is the higher faith, the kind that believes even in the middle. Before beauty replaces ashes, this is where your heart learns the language of surrender, even if it hurts. I will still trust you. When the divine exchange is not just about healing, it's about transformation. You don't simply get back what you lost. You receive something greater, something eternal. The fire burns away imitation, leaving only authenticity. The pain strips away pretense until all that remains is pure purpose. This is the holy transaction of heaven. You give God your fragments, and He returns them as foundations. You offer Him your tears, and He molds them into testimony. You lay down what broke you, and He shapes it into something that builds others. Every time you choose forgiveness, you participate in the divine exchange. Every time you respond with faith instead of fear, heaven trades weakness for strength. You stop surviving and start living. The same places that once wounded you will one day be wells that refresh others. In the divine economy, nothing is wasted. Every crushing season becomes a seedbed for grace. Every loss clears space for new growth. You are living proof that broken does not mean beyond repair. You are the evidence that beauty still blooms from ashes. You may not see the full picture yet, but one day you will look back and realize how perfectly the pieces fit. The disappointments, the delays, the denials, all of them were ingredients of redemption. God never intended to leave you shattered. He intended to show the world what restoration looks like. So, hold your fragments loosely and offer them fully. The exchange only happens when the surrender is complete. You are not defined by what was taken, but by what is being restored. The divine exchange is happening even now, quietly, invisibly, yet powerfully turning wounds into wisdom, grief into grace, and pain into purpose. One day, you'll thank God for every moment you thought you couldn't survive, because in surviving, you were transformed. You traded despair for destiny, ashes for authority, and tears for triumph. And when people see you shine, they will not see a survivor. They will see a miracle of exchange. Every fracture once felt like failure, but now it glows with purpose. The light escaping through your cracks is proof that healing has happened inside. You no longer hide your scars, you honor them. They are not symbols of pain, but signatures of transformation. Heaven's fingerprints upon your story. There comes a moment in every chosen life when clarity descends not as thunder, but as light. After the long silence, after the breaking, after the refining, something within you begins to awaken. You start to see why every delay had to happen, why every no was protection, and why every tear was watering something unseen. This is the moment of revelation, where what was once hidden begins to make sense. You realize that all along, heaven was orchestrating. Every detour you called disappointment was actually direction. Every person who left was part of divine rearrangement. What you thought was falling apart was actually falling into place. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time, though it lingers. Wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. I'm P. You are living that appointed time now. The fog that once blinded you is lifting suddenly. Memories that once hurt begin to heal, and pieces that once confused you now click together perfectly. What once felt like punishment now feels like preparation. God is showing you that His silence was not absence. It was setup. His delay was not denial. It was development. He has been writing a story that your heart could not yet read, and now, the words are becoming clear. In revelation, gratitude replaces confusion. You begin to thank God for what didn't work, for what didn't last, for what didn't open, because now you see it was mercy in disguise. The things you lost were never part of the final chapter. They were scaffolding for the structure being built. Revelation is light entering the room of your spirit. Suddenly, you understand that destiny is not a straight path, it's a divine puzzle, and only the Maker knows how the pieces fit. You were never wandering, you were being woven. This moment will change the way you look at everything. You will stop asking why and start asking what now. Because revelation doesn't just explain the past, it activates the future. Once you see what God was doing, you move differently. Fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its voice. You no longer beg for signs because you've become one, chosen one. The revelation you are stepping into will demand response. Not panics, not striving, but peace. Because once you see, you must steward what you know. You can't return to blindness after light has touched your eyes. Heaven reveals only to those willing to carry responsibility. There will be new instructions, gentle whispers that tell you where to turn, what to release, and who to bless. Follow them with humility. What you do after revelation determines what God does next. Revelation is not a reward, it's a responsibility. And though the light is bright, it is also weighty. It carries the awareness that purpose costs something. The truth you see now will require courage to live out. But remember what God reveals. He also equips. You will not walk this new clarity alone. Everything that once felt delayed will now accelerate. The pace will shift because your perspective has changed. You will see meaning in places that once looked empty. You will find strength in memories that once broke you. The moment of revelation turns pain into purpose and confusion into clarity. This is a holy awakening. Heaven is saying, now you understand. Now you are ready. Oh, if you feel this light breaking through your spirit, if something inside you finally clicks into divine order, let heaven hear your agreement. Comment the number 333 below. 3 is the number of divine completion, the echo of the Father, Son, and Spirit, moving in perfect harmony. When you write 333, you're declaring that you are aligned with divine understanding. You are saying, Lord, I see now, and I accept what you reveal. Endo, let those numbers be more than symbols. Let them be surrender. They mark your agreement with heaven's timing, that you will walk in revelation, not resistance, that you will see with clarity, move with wisdom, and carry light with reverence. This moment is your turning point. What was once mystery is now message. What was once confusion has become confirmation. You are not wandering anymore. You are walking in revelation. When you write 333, you are joining heaven's rhythm. It's not superstition, it's synchronization. 3 marks wholeness, the union of divine will and human trust, the sacred pattern that turns revelation into realization. Every digit declares that your understanding now breathes with God's heartbeat. You've moved from waiting to walking, from confusion to calling. Revelation has opened your eyes, and you will never see small again. Something changes. When revelation takes root, it births motion. Not the restless movement of before, but a steady, confident stride that flows from clarity. You begin to move differently because now you know why you move. The questions that once tied your feet in hesitation are gone. Purpose has replaced pressure, and direction has replaced doubt. You are stepping into assignment, the reason you were chosen from the beginning. At this stage, God is not just revealing, He is releasing. Everything you endured, the waiting, the fire, the silence was preparation for this moment. It was not wasted. It was weight training for what you are now strong enough to carry. Heaven doesn't send the unready, it sends the refined. The ancient words recorded in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10, affirm this truth. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You are stepping into what was prepared in advance. Nothing is random anymore. The same God who called you has now equipped you. What you feel stirring inside the urgency, the ideas, the renewed hope is heaven's signal that your assignment is awakening. At first, it feels like divine restlessness, an energy you can't explain. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You hear guidance in what others call coincidence. The Spirit starts connecting you with the right people, right places, right timing. You begin to notice that every closed door earlier was simply redirecting you toward the one that was meant for you all along. But remember this, when the assignment begins, obedience must become your oxygen. The very clarity you prayed for will now test your consistency. God will trust you with influence, but only if He can trust you with integrity. This is not the time to be casual, it's the time to be careful. The light that guides also exposes, and purity must walk hand in hand with purpose. The awakening of assignment feels both thrilling and sobering. You sense destiny breathing on your neck. Yet, humility anchors you from pride. You understand that this is not your spotlight, it's your stewardship. What you carry is not for display, but for delivery. God does not anoint you to be admired. He anoints you to impact. And impact will not always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like consistency when no one claps. Sometimes it looks like faithfulness when the results seem invisible. You were trained for this hiddenness, taught you patience. The furnace taught you endurance. The silence taught you sensitivity. Now, all of that becomes your strength. When you walk in assignment, your days begin to feel different. Ordinary tasks carry eternal meaning. Every conversation becomes a potential seed. Every moment feels watched by heaven. Not in judgment, but in partnership. You are co-laboring with God now. The Creator is working through your hands, through your words, through your presence. Yet, even in this momentum, He will remind you to stay close. The temptation of purpose is pride. The louder the calling, the quieter your spirit must become. Success is safest in surrendered hands. The moment you start thinking the mission depends on you, you risk losing the flow that sustains it. The assignment is not about your greatness, it's about His glory. Every time you serve, every time you speak, every time you obey, heaven moves through you. That's why obedience still matters more than outcome. You may not see the results immediately, but eternity does. You're not working for applause, you're building legacy. And know this, assignments shift, but purpose remains. Seasons will change, methods will evolve, people will come and go, but the essence of why you were sent will never fade. It's woven into your design. You carry it everywhere you go, like the pulse beneath your skin. So, keep your hands open. Let God refine your assignment as you walk. Some doors will close again, not because you failed, but because your role in that chapter is complete. Learn to release as gracefully as you receive. The mission moves forward when the vessel stays flexible. You are not just entering a new season, you are entering divine service. Heaven has entrusted you with influence that carries eternal weight. Move wisely. Move humbly. Move with heaven's breath guiding your every step. The world won't always recognize what's happening, but heaven does. Every act of obedience is a thread in a tapestry larger than you can see. You are part of God's unfolding masterpiece, living proof that revelation leads to assignment, and assignment leads to impact, and soon. The very thing that once broke you will become the platform where you bless others. That's the beauty of divine order. God never wastes a chapter. He transforms every line into light. Carrying assignment is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of responsibility. When God places weight in your hands, it is never for you to display, but to deliver. The mantle of purpose may feel glorious at first, but soon you will realize it is also heavy. It asks for discipline, humility, and balance. This is the stage where the chosen must learn to carry greatness without letting it carry them. The ancient scrolls record in the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 48, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." You have entered that reality now. The more God entrusts to you, the more He refines your character to match the gift. The mantle of responsibility is not a crown, it's a cross. It reminds you daily that the power you carry comes with purpose, and that purpose requires purity. At first, you will feel the tension between calling and capacity. There will be days when you wonder if you can handle it, when the weight feels unfair, when leadership feels lonely. But that, too, is part of the preparation. The mantle doesn't crush you, it calibrates you. It teaches you to rely on grace, not your own strength. You are no longer walking only for yourself. Every decision now ripples into lives around you. What you say, what you allow, what you ignore, all carry impact. That is the responsibility of the chosen. The higher you rise, the smaller your margin for error becomes. But do not fear this. It is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to remind you that dependence on God is the safest place to stand. Responsibility brings refinement. The mantle will test your motives, your patience, your endurance. It will teach you that not every opportunity is yours to take. Not every fight is yours to join. Not every platform is yours to stand on. You will learn the holiness of restraint, the sacredness of silence, and the wisdom of waiting before speaking. Sometimes, God will ask you to carry things in secret burdens, prayers, intercessions for others that no one will ever see. That's part of the mantle too. It is heavy, not because of pride, but because of purpose. True spiritual authority is invisible before it becomes influential. This weight will sometimes feel isolating. You may notice fewer people around you. That's not rejection, it's refinement of your circle. God is surrounding you with those who understand responsibility, not popularity. The crowd cannot carry what the chosen must bear. You are being trained to walk with those who value depth over display. The mantle also demands consistency. It will not always feel glorious. Some days it feels like routine, obedience, small, simple acts that no one thanks you for. But that is the essence of stewardship, doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Heaven sees the invisible faithfulness that the world overlooks. Carrying responsibility also means carrying compassion. The more you grow in authority, the more you must grow in empathy. You will find yourself drawn to help those walking where you once stumbled. This is not accidental, it's redemptive design. God turns your old pain into new purpose. You comfort others with the same comfort you received. And though the mantle feels weighty, it is also woven with joy. There will be moments when heaven lets you glimpse the fruit of your faithfulness, the lives touched, the chains broken, the hearts healed. These glimpses are not rewards. They are reminders that what you carry matters. Still, never forget, the mantle is not yours to own. It is borrowed, entrusted, and sustained by grace. The same God who placed it on your shoulders will empower you to bear it. You are not meant to carry it alone. His Spirit strengthens you daily, whispering wisdom into weary places. Responsibility is the evidence of trust. Heaven does not assign weight to those it doubts. It gives it to those it believes can withstand the pressure. So when you feel the heaviness, see it not as burden, but as confirmation. You have been trusted. The mantle is both your test and your testimony. It teaches you endurance, shapes your humility, and displays your devotion. You carry it not to exalt yourself, but to reflect the one who chose you. And one day, when your season shifts, you will lay it down for another to carry. That moment will not be loss, but legacy, the proof that you handled well what heaven placed in your care. Until that day, walk with steady hands and a grounded heart. Carry the mantle with reverence, gratitude, and grace. For every chosen one eventually learns. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a sacred trust between heaven and human hands. The deeper you walk into purpose, the more the world begins to notice your light. But that light was never meant to draw attention. It was meant to draw others home. What God is doing through you now is no longer only about your healing. It's about others finding theirs through your story. You have become a living flame, a quiet beacon for those wandering in darkness. Heaven never ignites light for isolation. It burns so that others might see. Every chosen one must learn this truth. Revelation turns into responsibility, and responsibility turns into radiance. You are now carrying illumination, meant to ripple outward, to warm the cold, to guide the lost, to awaken what has fallen asleep in others. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." The light you carry is sacred. It was forged in fire and polished in hiddenness. It's not just brightness, it's depth. It's not noise, it's presence. You have walked through enough night to know the value of morning. And now, heaven entrusts you to help others see dawn. But remember, even the brightest flame can fade if it's not tended. Oil must keep flowing. The wick must stay trimmed. This is why partnership matters not as pressure, but as participation. Light multiplies when hearts connect. Every time you respond, every time you engage, every time you simply let your heart lean closer to this message, you're adding oil to the flame. When you like, you're not clicking a button. You're breathing air into a spark. When you share, it's as though you're carrying a lantern through the night, placing it gently into another's trembling hands. And when you subscribe, you're saying, I want to walk beside this light again. I want to remember this warmth. 1. There's beauty in shared illumination. A single candle can brighten a room, but when many candles burn together, darkness has no place to hide. Every act of connection, every gentle gesture of agreement, builds a constellation of light that no shadow can silence. And if something in this message touched your heart, let it speak back through you. Leave a comment, not to be seen, but to sow reflection. Words written from sincerity become like ripples across still water. They travel farther than you imagine. Sometimes your few lines will become the confirmation another soul has been praying for. Your comment isn't noise, it's a note in heaven's harmony. Akyet, I hear you, Lord. That turns a digital moment into a divine echo. And for those who feel led to go a step further, to sow, to support, to give, do it as a sacred act of gratitude, not as obligation. Think of donation as rain feeding the soil where hope grows. Each drop finds its way into unseen roots, nourishing what will one day blossom into healing for others. You are not giving to a person, you are giving through purpose. The lamp that burns here doesn't belong to one, it belongs to many. It's fueled by unseen faith, by those who decided that truth should travel freely, reaching places their own voices cannot. Your giving is like oil, pure, silent, sustaining. It keeps the message alive, the fire consistent, the warmth steady for whoever will need it next. But even if you give nothing tangible, your presence is already participation. Listening is an offering. Reflection is a form of worship. Transformation is the greatest return. Heaven measures not the amount, but the authenticity. If this message has found you in a moment of weariness and reminded you of who you are, then you've already contributed something irreplaceable. Attention. True attention is love, the willingness to stop and receive light when the world keeps rushing. So, as this light reaches you now, let it stir gratitude, not guilt. Every like, every share, every quiet decision to stay connected is your way of saying, this light matters. Keep it burning. And if you ever feel led to pour oil back into this flame, to sow, to sustain, do it freely, joyfully, beautifully, because giving from peace multiplies peace. The lamp will remember your touch. Heaven will honor your intention. We do not build this altar of words alone. It stands because hearts like yours have believed that hope still deserves a voice. So let this not be the end of a message, but the continuation of a movement, one that carries warmth, truth, and grace across every screen and soul it touches. For every act of kindness, seen or unseen, is another spark. And every spark is a promise that the night will never win. There are victories heaven celebrates that the earth never sees. When you reach this point of the journey, applause no longer matters. You begin to sense that the quiet rejoicing of heaven outweighs any human recognition. This is the unseen celebration, the reward of faithfulness that no stage or spotlight can replicate. You will know you've entered this stage when gratitude becomes effortless. You wake up aware that everything you survived was necessary. Every breaking, every delay, every silent night now glows with meaning. The battles you once resented have turned into sacred memorials, evidence that you were never alone. Not even once. The Spirit reveals in the writings of Paul, in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. That sentence carries the heartbeat of completion. It's not about perfection, but perseverance. It's about crossing the finish line knowing that you gave heaven your obedience. Even when no one was watching, you stayed when others fled. You trusted when everything looked uncertain. You kept the faith. Heaven celebrates faithfulness differently than the world. Earth applauds results. Heaven crowns endurance. Every yes whispered in exhaustion. Every prayer spoken through tears. Every decision to keep believing, those moments are recorded in eternity. They are the hidden hallelujahs that echo beyond time. This celebration doesn't look like fireworks or fame. It looks like peace that refuses to leave, like a heart that rests even when the storm continues, like a soul that finally stops striving because it knows it's loved. The unseen celebration is quiet, but it is complete. You begin to understand that everything God asked of you was never meant to prove your worth. It was meant to reveal His. You've come to see that obedience is not about earning favor, it's about enjoying fellowship. The journey was never about status, it was always about intimacy. There will be moments when heaven lets you glimpse the fruit of your faithfulness, a word that changes someone's life. A prayer answered years later. A door that opens for another because you paved the way. But even those glimpses are not the true reward. The real celebration happens within you, the awareness that you fulfilled what was asked, that your light burned steady through the night. This is what it means to live in divine rhythm. You no longer chase moments, you create meaning. You no longer fear endings, you trust them. You no longer define success by applause, but by alignment. When heaven is pleased, you are satisfied. That is the unseen celebration. As this awareness deepens, your heart begins to soften. You start to see everyone differently, the ones who helped you, the ones who hurt you, even the ones who misunderstood you. You recognize that each played a part in shaping who you became. You hold no bitterness, only gratitude. Forgiveness becomes second nature because you realize how often you've been forgiven. In this quiet joy, your spirit learns rest. You no longer need to prove anything. You simply carry peace. You are not striving to reach heaven anymore. You are walking with heaven here. The applause of angels is not heard in thunder, but in the still assurance that whispers, "Well done." Yes, this is the point where your strength turns to serenity. The fighter in you doesn't disappear, it transforms into a guardian of grace. You fight differently now, not with weapons, but with wisdom. You no longer battle for survival, but for stewardship. You defend peace. You protect purpose. You carry compassion like armor. Heaven's unseen celebration surrounds you in ways you can't explain. Some days it's a sense of warmth when you pray. Other days it's the sudden memory of mercy that brings tears to your eyes. The awareness that God noticed everything, that He never missed a moment of your struggle, becomes overwhelming in the best way. And you begin to see that this celebration is not only for you. Every time you remain faithful, heaven rejoices over those you will touch because of it. Your endurance becomes someone else's encouragement. Your testimony becomes someone else's turning point. So, breathe in this peace. Let the unseen applause fill your heart. You don't need anyone to validate what heaven already confirmed. You have fought well, believed deeply, and loved freely. That is victory. The unseen celebration is happening right now. Not in noise, but in knowing. Heaven is clapping softly. Creation is bowing quietly. And your soul finally can rest. There is a stillness that arrives after long obedience. A quiet, unlike any you have known before. It is not the silence of waiting or the pause of uncertainty. It is peace fulfilled. You have walked through every season heaven required of you. And now you stand as one who has been transformed by surrender. You have become evidence of divine craftsmanship, the living reflection of what obedience can create. This is the eternal mark, the signature of God upon your life. It cannot be erased, outshouted, or diminished. Those who encounter you now do not merely meet a person, they meet the echo of heaven's handiwork. The fire you endured has become fragrance. The battles you fought have become blessings, and the silence you survived has become song. Heaven speaks clearly through the ancient words of Isaiah. Chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. That command is not an invitation, it is a declaration. You are no longer hidden, no longer half-formed. The same God who called you from obscurity now commands you to stand in the fullness of what He made you to be. The journey that once broke you now becomes the bridge for others to cross. The words that once comforted you now flow from your lips as comfort for another generation. The eternal mark is not a symbol on your skin, it is the transformation within your spirit. You no longer react the way you once did. You love differently. You speak differently. You see differently. You have become steady, anchored in peace, yet alive with passion. Heaven has written its name across your heart, and that mark draws others home. This mark is not earned, it is bestowed. It comes from every yes you whispered in faith, every tear that became prayer, every moment you could have quit, but didn't. The mark is recognition, heaven's way of saying, this one belongs to me. You carry it in your countenance, in your presence, in the quiet strength that no hardship could steal. Those who knew you before will notice the change, but not fully understand it. They will see the calm and wonder where it came from. They will sense authority without arrogance, softness without weakness, wisdom without weariness. They won't realize they are witnessing the aftermath of transformation, the residue of glory. Carrying the eternal mark does not mean perfection, it means permanence. You are no longer tossed by waves of doubt or drowned by the noise of fear. Your faith no longer trembles, it stands. You've learned that power is not in shouting louder, but in trusting deeper. And now, the purpose of your journey becomes clear. You were never just being saved from darkness, you were being shaped to carry light. Every experience has pressed you closer to divine likeness. You have become a vessel that heaven can trust, a torch that burns with grace instead of pride, truth instead of fear, love instead of judgment. This is what it means to be chosen, to bear the eternal mark, and never again blend in with ordinary. You were never meant to. Your story was written to stand as proof that redemption is real, that restoration is possible, that grace truly transforms. Even when your earthly assignment ends, your influence will remain. The mark you carry will echo through the lives you touched, through the hearts you healed, through the words you spoke in obedience. The world may forget your name, but heaven will never forget your impact. You have left fingerprints on eternity, and now, as you stand, In this sacred stillness, you can finally understand why God never allowed you to skip a single step. Every trial was a thread, every delay a design, every silence a shaping. Together they have woven the tapestry of your purpose. You are not the same one who began this path. You are the proof of divine perseverance, the outcome of heaven's patience. You wear victory not as pride, but as peace. You are the reflection of every promise kept, every word fulfilled, every tear redeemed. The eternal mark glows quietly upon you. It doesn't shout, it shines. It doesn't demand, it draws. It is the glory of God resting on a life that refused to give up. And now, the journey that once tested you becomes the testimony that will outlive you. You have become what heaven saw from the beginning, a vessel of light, an echo of eternity, a chosen one who could not be broken, only built. If these words have found you and stayed with you, then your spirit already knows this is more than a message. It is a mirror, a reminder, a movement. You have walked through fire, silence, revelation, and restoration. Now you carry the glow of everything you've overcome before this moment fades. Take a breath and let gratitude settle deep. If what you heard touched something sacred within you, let it flow outward. When you like, it is not a gesture, it is a spark added to the fire that keeps hope alive. When you share, it is as if you're handing another soul a candle in the dark, saying, "You're not alone, there's still light." And leave a comment, not for attention, but for connection. Your words might be the whisper that steadies someone else tonight. You never know how far a single sentence can travel once it's filled with sincerity. Subscribe, not out of habit, but as a choice to stay within the flow of what strengthens you. Every new message will meet you exactly when your spirit needs it most. And if your heart ever stirs to do more, to donate, to solve, to pour back into this flame, let it be like rainfall, quiet and willing. What you give will become light to someone still walking through their night. You are part of something living, something luminous. Every act, small or unseen, extends the reach of grace. Together, we are building a house of light across the world, one heart at a time. So stay close to the flame, keep it burning, and never forget, your presence here is purpose. You are the reason this light keeps shining.